Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take the Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, our third and final, here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid, all across the Spiz Grizz network. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. Week number 7 of this NFL campaign kicks off tonight in NOLA. It's the Saints hosting the Broncos and their former head coach in Sean Payton. New Orleans head coach, at least into his 3rd season, was Sean Payton's defensive coordinator for 6 years. Of course, that is Dennis Allen. How does familiarity, the atmosphere tonight in the Big Easy, factor into our handicap for a short week Thursday night football game with a couple of guys out there that maybe you haven't heard of? 2 rookie quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler makes his 2nd career start for New Orleans. And the guys he is throwing the football to tonight will update you on who they are in just a moment. But DRS, of course, we will continue to get you set for this huge Thursday in October, a doubleheader of Major League Baseball postseason action. First, a little bit after 5 p.m. Eastern Time, to the land we go. For the first time in the ALCS, as the home team Cleveland looks for its first win in the LCS against the New York Yankees. The Pinstripes a commanding 2-0 series lead, winning both rather comfortably in the Bronx to start off the American League Championship Series. It's game number 4 elsewhere in New York, in Queens, as the Mets host the Dodgers. LA winning yesterday 8-0. The Dodgers up 2-1. Can the Mets even it after 4 games? That is the question. So much to get to here in this third hour.
Yeah, the Guardians hoping that Java Chamberlain takes the mound and the Moths and the Flies come out of nowhere to disrupt that series and get the Guardians back into play. There's a couple games tonight, those 2 in baseball. I think there's some good sides on both of those. Also some RBI chances, maybe some base hit chances to get a look at here. And also a lot of left-handed batters in one lineup that we're going to focus on, BWS. Let's give that tease out there to the people.
I like that look, DRS. We'll talk prop perspective with Tom Vecchio in just a little bit. Our MLB insider, Craig Mish, helps us make sense of this MLB postseason. WOBA, ISO power numbers, XFIP numbers coming your way from the mind of Donnie Rightside in just a little as well. But we start, of course, with Thursday Night Football, the start of Week 7. The Saints at home, 2.5-point home underdog against Bo Nix and the Broncos. Minimal total, just 36.5 for this short week Thursday Night Football game, where many key offensive contributors not there for New Orleans, but a couple of banged up people in the Broncos secondary for what has been one of the best defenses so far this year in the NFL. What does it all mean? What is the best bet on Thursday night? It was the question to all of you in Fade the Public. DRS, Public, spot on, Monday night. heavy into Buffalo to win outright in MetLife. The Bills do just that. The Fade the Public poll in the public decisions this year, 5 and 6 in any best bet categories, NFL, college, MLB, or otherwise. Another best bet being asked for Thursday Night Football. What is it? The public going mostly with the Broncos laying 2.5. Second selected choice, that's the under at 36.5. More than 36% DRS. Back in the Broncos, laying a short number, albeit short week Thursday Night Football game on the road in New Orleans. What say Donnie right side?
Yeah, I think they're right in this one. I'm with that -2.5 and that 36% that's updated right now because I think it makes the most sense. Taking a rookie quarterback, like, you know me, I love home teams on a Thursday night. You say a rookie quarterback's going to on the road on a Thursday night, get out of town. He's not used to preparing or just a 4-day stretch at this point. But also the Saints going through the exact same thing and not even having as much talent as the Denver Broncos have. So for me, it is a simple equation here. I just trust the coaching staff and the team a little bit more in Denver. So we can't say, well, I think Denver's going to win, Ben, but New Orleans is going to cover at 2.5. You're not doing that. So the Broncos by a field goal or more, I think that makes the most sense. And also you take a look at that under 36.5. You can see it as well. We just told you the offensive weapons in this game on a short work week with how many players are injured here. It probably trends more likely to an uglier type game. We just hope the refs don't step in and say, we're going to have more flags out here than actual yardage, which they tried to do to us on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, 22 combined penalties, more than 200 combined penalty yards on Monday night. It ain't about the Zebras. It should be about a good atmosphere as New Orleans welcomes back their head coach of 15 years, Sean Payton, as he takes on his former team. Two rookie quarterbacks, Donnie, makes it a little bit difficult to handicap, in my opinion, to figure out just exactly how much offensive output we are going to see tonight. Everything in me wants to say it should be rather easy. New Orleans is so banged up offensively against a Denver defense that is top 5 in scoring and total defense this year that it's going to be difficult for Spencer Rattler and the Saints to put up enough points to even cover or win outright as a slight home underdog. And thus, we should stay under. Great defense for Denver, bad and injured offense for New Orleans with a rookie quarterback making his second career start. Denver should win this game 17-10, 14-3, 21-10, whatever it is to stay under 36.5. I just don't know. I think both could get a little sporadic and erratic, as you mentioned. We could see a couple of picks. Could we see a pick six or short fields on turnovers, leading to easy and quick scores for the opposing offense? Again, that total tonight, 36.5. Denver over in 3, under in 3. This the 5th total in 7 potential games for the Broncos this year, sub 40. New Orleans, who was a dead under team last year, 11 of 17 games to the under, one of the highest under percentages in all of the National Football League in 2023, over in 4 of 6, including so far over last week in Spencer Rattler's debut, 51-27 in a helter-skelter game against the Buccaneers. We talked about Bo Nix. Passing yards prop tonight, 191.5. Donnie, again, you have to think he goes over and gets to 2 bills, which is not a huge threshold to break through as a starting quarterback, albeit a rookie in the NFL. He has gone over 200 in 4 of 6 this year, and the Saints are the 4th worst passing defense in the National Football League. Now, Bo Nix is no Patrick Mahomes, but he threw for 331 a couple of weeks ago. He is no Baker Mayfield even, who threw for 325 last week in the Big Easy. He's no Kirk Cousins, who threw for 235. He's no Jalen Hurts, who threw for more than 300. He's no Dak Prescott, who flirted with 300 in week number 2. But 5 of the 6 have thrown for at least 235 against this Saints defense. You got to think Bo Nix gets to 200. But if the Broncos are winning this game comfortably and recognize they don't need to do a lot offensively, could be a big night for Javonte Williams on the ground.
Yeah, but also you look at these two quarterbacks' pedigree coming into the NFL. But Bo Nick's been around the block, played at multiple Power 5 schools here, through a ton of passes. And Spencer Rattler, much heralded coming out of high school, played at a couple Power 5 programs. These guys aren't scared to chuck the football, which is why I wanted to go watch in its entirety that game with Spencer Rattler. Yes, they got blown out, but the kid looked apart in the pocket. He was athletic. He was making decisive decisions. Even if it came up with a turnover or a touchdown pass, I liked what I saw. So I do think also those half touchdowns for each one of those quarterbacks does make some sense. Now, they're going to be juicy on both sides, but if you parlay them together, each guy to throw a touchdown pass, it doesn't work out to too bad of a product at that point. So, yeah, yes, they are rookie quarterbacks. Yes, they're going to struggle at times, but we're not coming into the NFL like last week saying, hey, Spencer, we're going to really protect you out here. Minimum 22, 23 passes. He threw 40 times in that game. And as I said, it was close right up until about 2 or 3 minutes into the fourth quarter. Bo Nix, do you remember his first career start on the road against Seattle? They didn't tell him, hey, man, 15, 20 passes max. They let him spin it here. These two quarterbacks will throw, which means good things usually happen. Turnovers, sometimes good for the total. You're going to take a look at incomplete passes, which stop the clock, maybe pass interferences down the field, and also touchdown passes as well. So that's a low total to begin with, but these aren't two rookie quarterbacks that you're looking to protect. These quarterbacks should be able to spin it.
I wonder, though, if the Saints weren't getting blown out 17-zip after the opening quarter, if Rattler would have thrown it as much or they would have trusted Alvin Kamara more. I do think both rushing props for the quarterbacks intriguing. We'll talk later. MLB next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Jennings Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A doubleheader of playoff baseball on this Thursday. First, it's Game 3 of the ALCS in Cleveland. The Guardians return home in an 0-2 hole against the Yankees. Can they win their first game of the LCS? It's game number 4 up in Queens between the Mets and the Dodgers. The Dodgers dominant once again in Game 3 last night. Will New York even up the set? Will LA be only one win away from a National League pennant after tonight's contest at Citi Field? Those are the questions we will pose to the host of Newswire. That's Craig Mish, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and our Major League Baseball insider here on the Spiz Grizz. Craig, as always, thank you for your time. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, and games today, 5 o'clock Eastern. Games tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern. And then the day baseball slate ends for 2024. It comes to an end. Yeah, back to only the night games, Donnie. I mean, you're going to have to watch it on replay, I guess, you know.
It's tough. Donnie doesn't like
Make
night
me
games
commissioner.
because he might have to go to sleep.
World Series, 1 o'clock starts across the board, even in LA, 1 o'clock Eastern start.
10 a.m.
Like the old days.
Records. Yep, break the records.
Yeah. Get
Break
rid of the stadium lights. Get rid of prime time.
Yep.
Could be Ebbets Field
Bring
back in the
Wrigley.
day. I agree.
Bring back Wrigley.
Completely agree. And I think Craig does as well, as he is here with us. So, Craig, you know what we like to do? Whether it's the postseason, regular season, even before the year, we got to touch them all. It's time for the Daily Basis. Game 3 last night at Citi Field before this Thursday in game number 4. Craig, the Dodgers dominant once again, 8-0. The victory for L.A. capped off by a monumental 3-run shot into the third deck from Shohei Ohtani to make it 7-0. Max Muncy adds on 8-0 all Dodgers last night. Fourth time in the last 5 games in this postseason for Los Angeles, shutting out the opposition. Craig, let's start with the pitching staff for the Dodgers. What has Walker Buehler and Dave Roberts and everybody in L.A. figured out?
Yeah, what pitching staff really should be the question, because generally speaking, they've only had 2 starters, and, I guess fortunate for them, they have the lead and they have their ace in the hole, so to speak, with Yamamoto getting ready to pitch their next game. So, look, I do think I have this series more pegged than the other one, where, the Dodgers are just not going to be able to get away with throwing openers in the next 4 or 5 games and win them all. So this is one they win. My guess is maybe even they win another one, and then they lose one, and then they win one. It feels like this is just going to be back and forth until they get to the World Series. But, Ben, the issue is for the Mets is that the Dodgers offense is just so good, and the longer they hang around, they're going to score some runs. Am I surprised that they just keep pitching these shutouts? Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, again, they have shown a propensity to get beaten up after a win like this, and so I guess it still remains to be seen. But I still see this being a back-and-forth series. I would say that was a big win for LA last night to win that first emotional game in Citi Field, playoff game. Really big win for them.
If we do take a look at the series situation right here, Craig, the NLCS new odds coming out here, the Dodgers at the FanDuel Sportsbook, a minus 380 price to win the series. The Mets at a plus 300. The game's now listed at 5.5, over, heavily juiced at minus 290, and the Dodgers are minus 1.5 if you're looking at that run line here for the series. Are we thinking that the Dodgers are moving forward, or did the Mets get after it tonight, maybe tomorrow night, take the lead before we get back to Chavez Ravine?
Yeah, no, I still think it remains to be seen. I think the Mets price is probably good right now. If you feel like they have a chance to win, you'd want to do that. And obviously, Don, if you want to take LA, you got to wait to hope that they would lose a game. I still see the Mets winning at least one more game in this series. I don't think LA wins the next 2, but it would be silly for me to sit here based on what we have seen and think that the Dodgers are going to lose Game 6 and Game 7 at home and get knocked out. That just doesn't seem realistic at this point. So I understand why the Dodgers would be favored here. But as I suspected all along, I do think 6, 7 games Dodgers do win. Mets will fight, though. This is not over.
Game number 4 tonight. Jose Quintana gets the start for New York. The Mets a slight home dog at Citi Field. Yoshi Yamamoto makes his debut here in the NLCS against the Mets. Did pitch and was brilliant in the winner-take-all game number 5 against San Diego on Friday. Minus 138 in favor of L.A. The market working back to the Amazons ever so slightly. Total of 7. We have seen at least 8 runs in all 3 games so far in the National League Championship Series. So, Craig, let's go to the ALCS in game number 3 tonight in Cleveland. The Yankees taking care of home field advantage, winning both in the Bronx in a 2-0 series lead. Just 2 wins away from the first pennant for New York since 2009. We go to Cleveland, though, for the first time. But the Yankees and Clark Schmidt remain a road favorite, now minus 122. How do you see Game 3 playing out? Will the Guardians win their first, or will the Yankees be just 1 win away from that American League pennant?
Yeah, you would have to think that, and I'll stick with Cleveland here. You would have to think that Cleveland throws everything at the Yankees tonight because they have to win this game. I'm not going to be foolish to think that if the Yankees win, they're not going to win the series because 3-0, they're going to. I still think Cleveland gets in the series. They haven't lost a home game yet. They were dominant there all season long, and we saw what they did to the Tigers in Game 5. I do think Cleveland is victorious tonight because I think that they have to be. And the Yankees don't really have to be, and I think that's probably the difference here is they can sort of preserve things for Game 4. I haven't found the Yankees to be dominant in the first 2 games that they played. They've shown some issues, with the base running, and Cleveland, by the way, had bases loaded a couple times twice and didn't score some runs. So similar to the last series, I do feel this is far from over. But clearly, look, if the Yankees win tonight, they're going to win the ALCS. There's no question about that.
Minus 800, Craig, is the price on the Yanks. Heavily favored to win this series. If Cleveland can win Game 3, just how many games might we see in the American League Championship Series?
Yeah, I still think this series goes deep, 6-7 games. You're never getting a good price with the Yankees ever, so nothing would surprise me here. But maybe this is the time to sort of hedge a little bit, take Cleveland for the series, and if they win tonight, then you could actually go the other way and take the Yankees if you feel they're going to win. Should be a good series. I think both go 6-7 games.
I like that, Craig. We like that. That's what we want in the LCS. We appreciate your time. See you on Newswire in a bit. More on the early line next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take the room.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the 1. Obviously, Terrence Jennings Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A doubleheader of playoff baseball on this Thursday, and Donnie right side breaks both of them down here on this Thursday on the early line. We start in Cleveland. It is game number 3 of the ALCS, the first in the land, with the Guardians looking for their first win of this league championship set. The Yankees winning both in the Bronx, and a road favorite entering game number 3 today in Cleveland. Line actually working to the pinstripes, minus 122. Clark Schmidt gets the start for the Yanks. Total 7.5. Matthew Boyd will at least open for the Guardians, and Stephen Vogt on the other side. DRS, what are the numbers telling you who wins game number 3?
But I don't know who's going to win game number 3. I preface it by this. Do I think the Yankees are a better team? Yes, I do. Do I want to take a side in this one? No, I don't. Because you're right. The ramifications for Cleveland from their pitching side of it is a kitchen sink game. You go down 0-3, you're just saying, oh, can we force a game, maybe win one of these, and you're not even going to make it back to New York. But the angles I want to focus on, Clark Schmidt starting pitcher here for the New York Yankees. The one thing we know about him on the season, decent pitcher, not a bad pitcher. If you look at his last 30 days, which is always so important to me, 85 batters he's faced. He's actually been, out of those 85, 37 has been against righties. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's been dominant. An 0.33 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 249. But this is what I teased earlier in the show. His last 48 plates appearances that he's had, or should I say pitching against left-handed batters, that's a 200 ISO and a 370 weighted on base percentage against of those 48 batters. If we look at that lineup for Cleveland, every once in a while, teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks have the ability to put out a left-handed lineup with a lot of switch hitters. Most teams can't do that. Like, hey, you can really get after a left-hand or a right-handed pitcher with lefties. We have 3 in the lineup tonight, 2 in the lineup tonight, 4 in the lineup tonight. You know what? Kwan, Manzardo, Ramirez, Naylor, Brennan, Jimenez, Naylor, and Vecchio. Either all lefties or switch hitters.
Oof.
You have one right-handed batter and that entire starting 9 tonight. So, as I said, looking for that leap of faith. I don't know if they can win this game, but you're going to give me team total 3.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook at a plus 102. I think Cleveland get the 4 runs tonight. You look at the first 5 guys in that lineup, they've all done very well against right-handed pitching. Even though 6, 7, 8, 9 have technically struggled against right-handed pitching, sometimes you just have to look at the equation. Home team, ready to get after it. If they score 4 runs, does that guarantee they win the game? No, it doesn't. But I do think that's a sneaky total. Same way I took the Mets in their game number 2 after getting shut out in game number 1. Sometimes the numbers make sense, and you just have to roll with it.
DRS, I think it's a great look, right? Plus 102 to go over 3.5. Does it guarantee a win? Not necessarily. No. Cleveland is going to start with Matthew Boyd. We'll see how many innings he gives the Guardians today before they try to get to those high leverage guys in the back end of the bullpen. And of course, it's all hands on deck. You can't go down 0-3 here in this best of 7 ALCS. But with a price to go over 3.5 to score 4 runs at bare minimum for Cleveland today, that is very similar at plus 102 to the money line now at plus 104. Why not just look there and control one aspect of it for the Guardians? Game number 4 tonight at Citi Field. It's the Mets and the Dodgers. LA, of course, victorious last night, 8-zip. In Queens, they've got a 2-1 series lead. They're a road favorite today. Line working against the Dodgers ever so slightly, now minus 138. Yoshinobu Yamamoto makes the start for LA on the road, his first in the LCS. Jose Quintana has been incredible for the Amazons this postseason. They're a home underdog. They're looking to even up the set. Total is 7. What do we see tonight in Queens?
Similar weather to what we saw last night, Ben. Low 50s to start that game. 9-mile-an-hour wind, but blowing in from left field here. We'll see if that makes a difference. But also, when I just talked about the Cleveland Guardians, sometimes you got to take a leap of faith and trust those numbers. This one's going to be interesting. Jose Quintana, left-handed starting pitcher for the Mets, has been really good over the past month. His last 88 batters that he's faced, an ISO against 051. Weighted on base percentage 212. Equal opportunity, dominant against right-handed batters, dominant against left-handed batters. He does like the nibble. He's going to need that strike call that's just off the plate. Here's the problem that you're running with the Dodgers. Hey, Quintana should be able to keep the ball in the ballpark, and I agree. 7 out of their 9 hitters tonight, elevated ISO power numbers against left-handed pitching over the month. And so many times you look and say, yeah, it's supposed to be Ohtani and Betts and Hernandez and Freeman. Look at the bottom of this order for the Dodgers over the past month against lefties. We'll start with Will Smith. Only 11 at-bats, Ben, but a 333 ISO power number. Tommy Edman, 10 at-bats, a 300 ISO power number. Max Muncy, 12 at-bats, 333 ISO power number. Kike Hernandez, 14 at-bats, 231 ISO power number. Andy Paez, 429 ISO power number through his last 8 plate appearances against lefties here. I still think this game does not get to 8 runs, so I'll lean on the under. But boy, oh boy, Quintana, who's been very good, is going to have to be special tonight against that lineup that dominates left-handed pitchers.
He has not allowed an earned run so far in this postseason. Proper perspective next.
right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting the hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the one. Obviously, Terrence Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant with that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. It is time for that prop perspective. And the jack of all trades is here. That's SportsGrid's Tom Vecchio. For the start of Week 7, short week Thursday night football game in New Orleans between the Saints and the Broncos. A doubleheader of October baseball in Queens and in Cleveland. And, of course, some action on the ice as well. Vecchio, as always, thanks for being here. We appreciate the time.
Of course, thanks for having me. Yeah, an interesting game tonight, I guess is one way to put it for Thursday night football. Probably a lack of scoring. Two huge playoff games. You know, as Kevin likes to say, I'm in the mix. I'm in the mix like checks today. Let's go.
The mix like checks today. That's a bar that Donnie right side couldn't even come up with. That's good stuff, Vecchio. We appreciate the enthusiasm here on this Thursday. I know Donnie wants to spit a beat so bad right now, maybe at the end of this segment. Thursday night football in the Big Easy, Vecchio. The Saints play host to the Broncos. There is the atmosphere of this Thursday night. Sean Payton returns to New Orleans. Will it be a warm welcome? There's also some of the unknown offensive woes and injuries for New Orleans. A rookie quarterback making his second career start. A rookie quarterback, albeit who has been the starter all year for the Broncos, but still a rookie quarterback. 2.5-point spread in favor of Denver. Low total at 36.5. What are the numbers telling you for Thursday night football?
This could be an ugly game. Like, this is the game that starts off punt. This is the game where we're going to be seeing out of 10-3, 7-3 at halftime. Given the injuries that the Saints have on offense, missing Chris Olave, missing Rashid Shaheed, their offense is certainly in a tough spot. We have a quarterback, like you said, with Spencer Rattler, a rookie making his second start. They're on a short week, and they have to prepare with all backups. Now, you would like to say this is going to be a big Alvin Kamara game. He touches the ball no less than 20 times combined, rushing and receiving. They get the ball when they try to keep things under control, but I just don't see the Saints coming away with the win in this game. They're just so depleted on offense, and while the Broncos ultimately, I think, you know, in my mind, are like a really, really average team overall, they got to be winning this game 10 times out of 10, essentially. They're in a spot to compete for the wild card, or one of the wild cards. I don't expect them to fully get there, but this has to be a big Javonte Williams game. Just take care of business on the road.
Two rookie quarterbacks on a Thursday night, limited preparation. Both are going to do this for the first time. It should definitely get interesting, but we see that 36.5 as a total, and we roll it over to the quarterback props, because when you have a low total, you do get some interesting numbers. Spencer Rattler, his passing prop number over 182.5. That's at a minus 110 price. Bo Nix over 191.5, also listed at minus 110. If you want them to throw a couple touchdowns, both listed at a half of a touchdown apiece. Heavily juiced Rattler minus 215, and then Nix at a minus 245. The expectations, Tom, tonight for these two quarterbacks, what are they?
I think they're relatively low. I actually don't mind Spencer Rattler's number. He looked like decent last week. Granted, all things considered, they were like a pretty wild game against the Bucs, 70-plus points. But he was pretty solid last week. Some yards on the ground. So I don't mind going to him, especially if I anticipate Denver being out in front. His yards are not going to be consistent for any one player. Donnie, you mentioned Bub Means, which we can certainly get into, but Kamara coming out of the backfield, they can get the yards. It's not maybe garbage time yards. It may not be the prettiest yards, but I actually kind of am interested in Rattler's number today.
243 yards on 40 attempts and 22 completions in his debut against the Bucs last Sunday in New Orleans. A touchdown, albeit multiple interceptions. So, Vecchio, you mentioned it. For the Broncos, short week Thursday night football game, it's about taking care of business and trusting Javonte Williams. This stat from our producer extraordinaire, who knows from personal experience that Javonte Williams has not found pay dirt this year because Williams is on Joe Frizo's fantasy team. 79 total touches so far this season without scoring a touchdown. It's the most around the NFL. Why does that change tonight in NOLA?
He's just like, I don't want to say positive regression is coming for him, but when you see the ball this many times, it's going to happen. He leads the team in red zone carries. He leads the team in carries inside the 5-yard line. I like him to score at plus 160. I like him to go over 44.5 rushing yards. I also will say, I kind of like him at 100-plus yards at plus 1,200, which you can find over on DK. Over the past 4 weeks, we've seen opposing running backs go for 100-plus yards 3 different times. Sean Tucker last week with 136. Bucky Irving also had 81. Kareem Hunt, who came off his couch when the Chiefs signed him, went for 102. And Saquon went for 147. So Javonte Williams, I think he crushes his 44.5 number. If you don't like the plus 100 alt line, alting it all the way up, as Joe Lisi would say, maybe just take it at like 60 or 70 plus. This is the Javonte Williams game this week.
Let's take a look at the receiving props here because you are getting discounts across the board here. The top dog here is Cortland Sutton at 45.5 yards. If you flip it over to the Saints, it's not even a wide receiver. It's a running back in Alvin Kamara at 34.5. So usually when you see not a lot of these big names here, you can get some value down the board. Tom, talk to me about some of these guys that are going to fill in for some of the injuries, particularly on the Saints.
Yeah, on the Saints side of things, I'm actually most interested in Juwan Johnson over 27.5. Right now, we actually looked at him. He's actually the number 2 receiving option on the Saints with Olave and Shaheed out. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is their number 1, but I like this. The Broncos have allowed the 15th most yards to tight ends, and Juwan Johnson has been with the team for a few years now. Like, he's involved in the system. He knows what's going on. 27.5 yards, especially if the Saints are in somewhat of a passing game script. I think he gets over this number. I don't want to say in the first half, but a 12-yard play here, a 15-yard play, he kind of is going to be right at this number, I would say, more often than not in this scenario. Bub Means was a third-string guy. Some people think he has the on-field connection with Spencer Rattler just because they've been running the scout team and have that practice reps, but that's just not necessarily a player I want to go to. I think Cortland Sutton's a fine option. He's obviously their best player overall, and he can get there with those big downfield plays. I would say probably 2 catches as well.
You see 2 of those 3 guys listed for New Orleans. Both are rookies. Bub Means, a rookie 5th-round pick out of Pittsburgh, so he has that in common with Spencer Rattler, 5th-round selection for the Saints out of South Carolina. And Mason Tipton, the undrafted rookie wideout from Yale, a smart guy who has 6 grabs this year. Means has only 5. So you highlighted Juwan Johnson. Let's put up Tom's top props for one final time so people can soak in this goodness. Javonte Williams to find pay dirt for the first time this year, plus 160, over 44.5 rushing yards against the Saints defense that has really been struggling either defending the ground game or through the air. And Juwan Johnson, the tight end for New Orleans, over 27.5 receiving yards. Doubleheader tonight, Vecchio, of October baseball. Let's start in Queens. It's the Mets and the Dodgers. The Amazons, a home underdog. Jose Quintana gets the start for New York. Yoshi Yamamoto on the other side for L.A. 3 straight games that have seen at least 8 runs, all 3 over. Does that continue into Game 4?
I don't think so. I think we're going to see it, kind of flip to the other side with the under. I got to say, Quintana has been like really, really solid especially in those two starts in the postseason. And, Quintana's not necessarily a pitcher I would turn to on a day-to-day basis, like if we were in the middle of July or August, just because he's not a big strikeout pitcher. But a line sitting at 3.5, it's a little bit juiced at -140 or so to the over, but they need him out there. He keeps the ball low. He can keep, limit the hard contact, and he's been making some hitters swing and miss in the postseason. So I kind of like his over on strikeouts, which is not necessarily something I would normally say.
Let's go
right
quickly now
down
to
to the
game
wire.
number.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we're giving the guy shouts for his fantasy team, and he fails to do what is needed. Quickly here, Vecchio. Game number 3 of the American League Championship Series. The Guardians in Cleveland for the first time, hosting the Yankees. Cleveland, a home underdog. Will they win their first game of the ALCS against New York?
I think they do tonight. Getting them at even money, I think, is super solid. I think if they don't win this game, the series will be over in at most 5 games. Like they have to win this game to keep the series close. Also, Boyd over 3.5 strikeouts. Their bullpen's been kind of beat up. I know they're coming off the rest day yesterday, but they also kind of need him out there for some innings tonight.
Tom Vecchio, you will see him later all across the SportsGrid network, getting you set for Thursday night football. Vecchio, we appreciate the time. More TNF up next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do a sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season kicks off tonight in New Orleans. It's the Saints and the Broncos. 2.5-point spread in favor of the road team. Short week Thursday, traveling away from home. Denver the favorite in the Big Easy. Total is minimal, just 36.5. Again, the breakdown of this game could be fascinating, could be infuriating if you're going to buy into either of the two rookie quarterbacks, either for offensive production, points on the board, or just trusting one to lead his team to a victory. 7th career start, all 7 games this year for Bo Nix and Denver. 2nd career start for Spencer Rattler. and the Saints. Of course, it should be a homecoming of sorts tonight in New Orleans as Sean Payton makes his return to the Big Easy for the first time as Denver's head coach. Spent 15 years as the Saints head coach, as the winningest all-time head coach in the history of this New Orleans franchise, the longest tenured head coach in the history of this Saints organization, won them a Super Bowl in 2009, 9 playoff appearances as well. So, DRS, with all of that stewed into one, what do you expect Thursday night football to look like in New Orleans this evening?
And probably sloppy and getting us back to the point where we would say so many years, why do we do Thursday night football? It's a terrible product. And we might get that tonight. Now, granted, it's only 36.5. They could get over that total. But when we're looking for the smoothest of the game, I don't think we're having too many like, hey, there's going to be a lot of big plays on New Orleans. Who's making those big plays downfield? Because if it is a lot of Alvin Kamara, that means a lot of clock churning. The same thing with the Denver Broncos on the opposite side. The goal for these two teams is not entertain the home audience like it's, a wrestling match here. It's who can get the win. If it's 6-3 or 26-23, it doesn't matter to them. Right. So that's the way I try to play it out. But also, as when Tom was talking with us as well, you are getting some deep discounts on player props that wouldn't be this deeply discounted because that total does sit at 36.5. That's where you can have some fun with. But I guarantee you this, including myself, there'll be a lot of people out there just outsmarting themselves, going for options that aren't really number one options, buying low on players just because they need a catch or two to get over that number. I don't think you can probably go wrong by taking starting running back on each team in this game because I don't think either one of these teams is going to run away with it. And if it is lower scoring, that means you're playing a little bit closer to the vest here. They should get their carries. But I do think some of the wide receivers do deserve some attention, particularly on a team that you might not think is going to win. And for me, the Saints, I don't think they win. So I do think there is some value in those low totals for a tight end and certainly my guy Bub at wide receiver.
Yeah, we'll talk QBs in just a moment. Denver favored for just the second time this year. They did win and cover in their first game as a home favorite a couple of weeks ago against the Las Vegas Raiders. 4-2 ATS overall this season for Denver. 5 of the 6 games booked as a dog. 5th total already in 7 potential games for the Broncos. That will be sub-40 pregame. Meanwhile, for New Orleans, off to a 2-0 start. Highly impressive offensively. Derek Carr is now injured. New Orleans has now lost 4 games in a row, and the defense has not looked great. Under defensive-minded head coach Dennis Allen, they've allowed at least 26 points, DRS, in their last 3 games. They gave up 51 last week to the Buccaneers. So it could be a little bit helter-skelter. 4th worst passing defense in the NFL. New Orleans has been over in 4 of 6 games this season. So let's talk those quarterbacks. Rookie quarterbacks on either side. 12th overall pick in the opening round, Bo Nix for Denver, has started every game this year for the Broncos. Spencer Rattler, 5th round selection for New Orleans, making his 2nd career appearance, 2nd career start in the National Football League. Both QBs, sub 200 yards for their passing yards prop. Who has a better chance, Donnie, to even reach 2 bills tonight?
I'm still, if I think Knicks is going to win the game, and I think the Broncos will, that over 191.5 probably makes more sense to me. Even they say, well, Donnie, you usually like to take that angle where the losing quarterback throwing all over the 4th quarter can pick up those extra yards. Normally you would say yes, but again, who is he throwing to? Where are those big plays going to be coming from? And is that game plan going to be sent around, hey, Alvin, make sure you help us? Because, yes, you can have dump outs out of the backfield, 5 to 6 catches for Kamara for, let's just say, 35 to 40 yards, somewhere in that range. That's not a lot. It's much different than hitting off on a 25-yard pass downfield for just 1 completion. Also, if you're looking from a Bo Nix perspective, he does have much more starts under his belt. And as you stated already, New Orleans does not have a great defense here. So you look for the Bo Nix to say, look, I'm not nervous by this environment. Going against another rookie against a defense that can actually be had. Why can't he throw for 200 yards? The one thing we do know, offensive coordinators love to throw the football. Sean Payton's an offensive guy. Rookie quarterback be damned. If the play calls for a pass play, I'm going to give it to my quarterback to try to execute. If I had one quarterback to take to go over his passing prop, it's probably Bo Nix for me tonight.
Yeah, I would agree, DRS. At least 200, over 204 of 6. And New Orleans has been atrocious. 4th worst passing defense in the NFL. 5 of 6 quarterbacks. Only Bryce Young, the only quarterback who did not reach at least 235 yards against New Orleans this year. And I do understand what Tom Vecchio was saying. Hey, The Broncos are a slight road favorite. They want to come in and win this game 7-3, and Javonte Williams have 80 yards on the ground. So when you look at both running backs trying to be that safety valve, if you will, or staple of consistency for their rookie quarterbacks, who do you favor in the direct running back head-to-head?
Direct running back head-to-head, got to be Alvin Kamara for me. I mean, because I just think like the entire defense is going to be geared towards stopping him, yes, but also the entire offense should be geared toward getting him the football because he is your singular playmaker. If you said, Donnie, give me one thing that you think he's going to do well tonight, or one thing that you think at a good price point could be, if you get in the red zone, is it really going to be a touchdown pass, or are they going to be at the 5-yard line and go, you know what, kid, you're a rookie here. We're not going to get you confused. 3 straight carries by Alvin Kamara for a touchdown. So I do think he can get over his yards. I do think he can catch enough passes to get over his receiving yards. But if I just said, you know what, forget that. If they score a touchdown tonight, what are the odds it's not Alvin Kamara? Like, he's the favorite to do that, and I think he gets that done tonight for them.
7 total scores this year, even once last week in Rattler's debut. Donnie, if you had to go pass catchers, who's your favorite prop pick?
I got to tell you, it has to be Bub Means. Like, you look at the game last week and coming into it as a rookie, it's like, hey, man, he doesn't have a lot of, expertise, but he did have 8 targets last week, 5 catches, and a touchdown. And the majority of the targets, catches, and the touchdown came in the first half when it was a close game. He has a little bit of a connection. What, 31 yards? We're not talking 75. 31 yards. Come on now, Bub. Bubba. Let's go.
Bubba, adding on a little bit. DRS, enjoy the money line, more the early line next.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Don?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do sliding DiVincenzo to the what? Obviously, Terrence Jennings Jr., that is actually dynamic offensively and defensively. So we'll see how it works. I think it's a little bit of a work in progress. Do both teams win? Yes. I don't think at the end of the day, Minnesota could have afforded to keep Cat, Rudy, and Ant for that amount of money.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season starts tonight. Week 8 of the college football campaign already underway. Tuesday, Wednesday night football, CUSA action, Fun Belt action, beautiful, beautiful things around the country. But on this Thursday, a power conference gets involved. That's the ACC, Virginia Tech and Boston College, inside Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. Both teams off last weekend, as you might expect, before a Thursday night tilt. This just has the feeling of a weird, quirky game tonight inside Lane Stadium, where the Hokies a disappointing team this season, are more than a touchdown favorite against Boston College. Very interesting. Virginia Tech was one of the teams that people looked at under the radar, ACC sleeper, returning so much talent, 21 starters in all three phases, the most among a Power 4 program. But they're only 3-3. They did, of course, make it highly competitive against Miami as a 3-score underdogs a few weekends ago. They did hammer Stanford in their last game in the opening Saturday of October, easily covering as a touchdown favorite, winning 31-7 at home. Now, for Virginia Tech in this matchup, though, they're taking on a Boston College team that has been great as an underdog the last 2 years, 7-5 ATS, 2-1 against the spread as a dog this season. The only non-cover as a 2-point underdog against Virginia 2 Saturdays ago. But Thomas Castellanos was returning from an injury you would expect with a little bit of additional rest here. He is closer to 100%. BC, best scoring defense in the ACC, allowing just a tick over 17 points per game. The Eagles have been under in 5 of 6. I think this game does stay close. It feels quirky. Don't love a bet in it. If I was going to lean to either side, it would be taking the 7.5 with Boston College. Marshall, 8.5-point favorite at home tonight for the Thundering Herd. 51.5 is that total. With Charles Huff, Marshall has been a great cover team. That's why they're laying 8.5 in some Fun Belt action against the Panthers from Georgia State. Now, let me direct your attention to a wonderful Friday night slate in college football. Multiple power conference programs in action. Duke, 3.5-point favorite against a struggling Florida State team. What in the world does FSU still have to play for? On the bye last week after getting throttled by Clemson once again, whether it's DJU or Brock Glenn, does it matter? Duke laying more than a field goal at home against the Noles. BYU, one of 11 remaining undefeated teams in the sport. BYU, one of 2 teams in the country that is also perfect against the number. 6-0 ATS alongside Army. Those are the 2 of 11 teams that are undefeated straight up and undefeated ATS. You would think in this spot, late night, Friday night in Provo, it favors BYU, and they are favored, laying near double digits as the 13th ranked team in the country. Can the Cougs contain an Oklahoma State team fresh off a bye that has been disappointing to say the least this year? Will we ever see Ollie Gordon II run for the century mark once again? BYU's been pretty good defensively this season, second best scoring defense in the Big 12. But now I must direct your attention to West Lafayette on a Friday night. It's a pretty nice number 2 rating you got there, Oregon. Would be pretty interesting if Purdue did something about it. Can the spoiler makers live up to the branding of this program for Purdue? Purdue has won in its history since 1950, 9 times against a team ranked AP number 2, the most in college football. 17 times against a top 5 team. No other program in the modern era of the AP poll since 1936 has more than 11 upsets over a top 5 team as the unranked side. Purdue has even knocked off the number 2 team in the country twice in the last 5 full seasons of college football. 2018, beating number 2 Ohio State. 2021, upsetting number 2 Iowa. But you saw Oregon, 4-touchdown favorite for this game on the road in West Lafayette. Purdue as the spoilers, not quite as prolific with Ryan Walters in his second year as under Jeff Brom. 5-9 against the spread for the spoiler makers this year as an underdog. Their only cover against an FBS foe last week, taking Illinois to overtime despite trailing 21-7 early in the second half. That game exciting tomorrow. Tomorrow's always exciting. It's a Football Friday. The early line returns at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow on SportsGrid.